Well, for more on what makes Hong Kong a great business city and the challenges it faces from the region and beyond, I spoke with Tara Joseph. She's the president of AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, and a long-time Hong Kong resident. I asked her what has changed there since the handover.
Well, it's changed tremendously, of course. China opening up inbound investment, outbound investment. That's had a massive impact on Hong Kong. It's a very vibrant place to do business and strategically important and getting even more important.
Now, in terms of the future of Hong Kong and its development from a business perspective, what's your take?
Well, there is so much going on, it's almost hard to know where to begin. At AmCham, for example, we have about 1,600 members, and they come from a variety of sectors: financial services, logistics, the legal sector as well, sourcing and manufacturing. But we have the AIIB developing, so that's going to lead to many opportunities in infrastructure and construction around the region. We have the Belt and Road Initiative, which means there are going to be many different types of business opportunities throughout the region. And then, of course, we have financial services, and we have investment coming outbound from China. We also have more investment going into China. So there is so much going on in Hong Kong right now. It's hard to know where to begin discussing the opportunities. I'll even also talk about southern China and this area that people are now calling the Bay Area, with Shenzhen very close to Hong Kong. There's huge technology development there as well. There's a lot of money developing there in terms of opportunities.
Certainly a lot of opportunities across a range of industries, especially with the Belt and Road Initiative. It's interesting that the U.S. is taking a slightly different stance in how it's approaching things like trade. How does AmCham view that trade relationship between China and the U.S. right now?
Well, obviously, it's a hugely important relationship. And one of the main reasons that I'm here in Washington is to come and understand what the administration hopes to do with China and also in trade around the region. Of course, we were really encouraged to see that China and the United States got off to a good start when Donald Trump came in. Now we'd like to see what's going to happen and where they're going to take this trade relationship. It is arguably the most important trade relationship in the world.
And what are some of the concerns you think that could be on the horizon?
Hard to know what the concerns are. I think people would like to understand what the level of U.S. engagement is going to be, not just between China and the United States, but also throughout Asia. I mean, 60% of the world's economy and trade now comes out of the Asia region as a whole. It's really important to understand where that's going and where it's developing. It's also becoming an increasingly competitive region. So for American companies, we really want to know what we're going to be doing in Asia and how those trade relationships are going to develop. And of course, we have the APEC meeting in Hanoi later this year. We're very encouraged that Donald Trump is going to that meeting, but we'd really like to see the United States active. And that's good for the world, to have an engaged United States in the fastest growing region in the world.
Now, we know that Hong Kong is considered one of the most, if not the most, competitive economies in the world. What is it doing to maintain that title?
Well, the one country, two systems principle is hugely important, and that framework really needs to stay where it is. We're very encouraged by signs that that is continuing to happen. Transparency, rule of law, also its stock markets. Those are very, very vibrant and important areas. So that's the mainstay of what it's trying to do to stay on top. Also being a real gateway city. It's an international city. So American companies, French companies, German companies, Chinese companies, all really in one melting pot and center for excellence. It needs to stay on top of that. One of the concerns for international companies in Hong Kong is really the cost of operating there. It's becoming more costly, potentially as a center for excellence, but it's making it a little bit more difficult to operate there.
And are there perhaps any other regions in the area that Hong Kong might lose out to?
Well, there's always the competition with Singapore, but let's be realistic. We are a gateway city into the mainland, and that has a lot going for it. It's also a place that people know and understand very well. It's on the doorstep to Southeast Asia. It also can reach into North Asia. It has excellent hubs. And of course, competition is rising. There are other cities in Asia that are growing, that are wealthier than they used to be. But Hong Kong is a place that people understand.
And just lastly, what's your outlook for Hong Kong in terms of how it woos business, in terms of welcoming investment there? What's your outlook?
It is a very comfortable place to show up and start doing business. And that is where Hong Kong really gets its reputation as being a great business center. You can speak English, go into Hong Kong and start a company. You can really develop a network of people. You can hire people who really know what they're doing. You can move around the region comfortably. So that's really important. That's what makes it a great place. There are some things that are becoming a little bit more difficult. As I mentioned, the cost of living is very high. That's of concern to people. It's a little bit harder to open a bank account than it used to be because of strict regulations. That's a concern for our members as well. But Hong Kong is a hub. People know it, people feel comfortable, and it's a very vibrant place.